From the national newsroom of the Canadian Press, I'm Karen Rebo. The Middle East is inching closer to a long-feared regional war after Iran fired a barrage of missiles at Israel yesterday. Reporter Perry Russum has more.
Israel striking Hezbollah militants in Beirut, hours after the largest ever ballistic missile attack on Israel. Iran launching an air assault over major cities, firing more than 200 missiles. Explosions lighting up the night sky. Israeli defense systems intercepting many of those projectiles. U.S. forces also shooting down missiles. Multiple Israeli military bases were hit.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu vowed late last night to retaliate against Iran, which he said made a big mistake and will pay for it. Israel hasn't commented yet on claims from Palestinian medical officials that Israeli airstrikes in southern Gaza have killed at least 51 people today. The UN Security Council is set to hold an emergency meeting about the growing violence and tensions in the Middle East. An emergency debate continued late into the night in our House of Commons on Canada's response to the widening Middle East crisis and evacuation measures for Canadians in Lebanon. The debate was requested by NDP Foreign Affairs critic Heather McPherson, who worries about the innocents.
Civilians in Israel, in Gaza, in Lebanon, in the wider region are paying the price for the failures of world leaders. The world is on the brink of further violence because we have not been holding political leaders to the standards of international law, because we have collectively tolerated the erosion of rule-based international order.
U.S. vice presidential nominees J.D. Vance and Tim Walz used their time on the debate stage last night in Manhattan to focus the bulk of their attacks on those at the top of their rival tickets. With the Middle East in turmoil, they offer different approaches toward foreign policy. The House of Commons will vote on a confidence measure for the third time in 7 days today, but this one comes from the government itself.
The Liberals have called for a vote on the proposed changes to the capital gains tax they announced in the spring budget. The capital gains inclusion rate was adjusted in June, and the motion before the House today will allow the government to introduce the legislation to formalize the changes. Most Canadians who make more than $250,000 in profits from capital income in a single year will now pay more in tax on that income. Lisa Laporte, The Canadian Press.
A California doctor charged in the overdose death of Canadian-raised actor Matthew Perry is expected to plead guilty for having a role in the tragedy. Dr. Mark Chavez is expected to appear before an LA judge today after signing a plea agreement with prosecutors for conspiring to distribute the surgical anesthetic ketamine. Chavez would be the third person to plead guilty in the aftermath of the Friends star's fatal overdose last October. And Canadian musician Jacob Hogard will be back on the stand today to continue being cross-examined at his sexual assault trial in northeastern Ontario. This is the Canadian Press. In sports, it's playoff time in Major League Baseball. Wild Card Series got underway last night. Fernando Tatis hit a towering 2-run homer as the San Diego Padres beat the Atlanta Braves 4-0 in Game 1 of their best-of-3 National League Wild Card Series. The other NL Wild Card Series saw the New York Mets open with an 8-4 victory over host Milwaukee. In the American League, the surging Detroit Tigers dumped the Astros 3-1 in Houston, and Kansas City blanked the Orioles 1-0 in Baltimore. In NFL news, Buffalo Bills edge rusher Von Miller was suspended 4 games by the NFL yesterday for violating the league's personal conduct policy. The NFL did not reveal the reason for the suspension. Miller is the NFL's active leader in sacks. He was accused last November of assaulting his pregnant girlfriend at their home outside Dallas during a Bills bye week. No charges have been filed. From the Canadian Press, I'm Karen Rebo.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to follow and subscribe. For more of today's top stories, visit thecanadianpressnews.ca.